welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jay.
And I'm Ness. What a week.
In a week, and a lot going on.
Too much going on. I
And
hope y'all have been
important.
resting, recharging.
And frankly, the least important thing in my mind right now is the Stanley Cup.
Actually,
I I like both, generally speaking, and then also hockey wise, I can't hide it, guys. I just don't care. I don't care. I want it to be over. I truly, truly do, because we've said already, my focus has been on the draft. And actually, I'm kind of thirsting for some Sharks news, because right now there really isn't a whole lot going on. But before we get into all that, the Florida Panthers are leading 3 games over 2 to Edmonton Oilers. I've just been kind of following the score. I haven't really felt compelled to really tune into a game. Who knows if they push this into a game 7, I may just watch it just for the vibes of the hockey community. But um this series, if you're invested in it, it looks like a good series, because there's moments where the Oilers, I think in the previous game that was yesterday or the day before, the Florida Panthers went up like 3-0 in the first period. And that is not, if you're in the Stanley Cup finals, frankly, if back when the Sharks were in it, if they were down 3 in the first period, like that's got me shaking in my boots a little. I won't lie. But then the Oilers came right back, and I do believe that they, not this past game, but the game before that, they came back. So you can't count them out. So if anything, this is a very exciting series for people who care.
only for those who care. Yeah. Well, I've been catching snippets of posts on social media or whatever. People are really into it, saying that this is a really good series. People who aren't watching are missing out, whatever. And it's like, I could see that, just because every time I check, how many games has it been? 5? Game 4, I think it was. Went
Yes.
to second overtime again, or whatever it was, or just overtime. But they were pretty evenly matched. I think the Panthers went up like 3 or 4 to 0, and then the Oilers came back and tied it and forced overtime, something like that. I can't remember. And then I did see the highlight of Dreisaitl's goal, and it was like, how did that even go in? But they ended up winning that game in that fashion. It's like, okay, pretty evenly matched. And then game 5 happened, and the Panthers kind of just blew them out of the water. So we'll see how the Oilers respond next game. I'm pretty ready for this thing to be over. I don't care.
Yeah, some things that I saw this week, there was a replay of a clusterfuck in the crease. Just how it didn't go in is insane. Just watching that replay, um, I've been kind of intrigued with the look. If the Panthers can see this through and deny the Oilers yet another chance at finally hoisting the cup, I think this all comes back to the acquisition of Brad Marchand, because he has been a player in this series. And I saw this clip the other day. I don't know which game it happened, but it was between him and Wallman, and I guess they got into some kind of situation in the ice, which led to Marchand deciding he was gonna gnaw at his glove, at Wallman's glove, and I'm just like, what are you doing, bro? Like, he was just gnawing at it.
He's
This
so
this
stupid.
this little rodent, man, but he's an effective rodent. He gets in there, he messes your shit up. So yeah, I guess that's just my take. If the Panthers can find their way to yet again closing the door on the Oilers here, I think it comes back to that acquisition.
Yeah. If the Oilers win, though, I'm gonna say that Waldman was the. No, just kidding. Difference maker here. Oh,
There's
not
either way.
Dreisaitl.
No, no, not the determination of two of their leading goal scorers who cannot stand this anymore.
Right.
Um, but I think if the Oilers manage to finally get over the hump, I think it'll be a relief for not only the franchise but the fan base out there that we know it's a Canadian team. They're they're devoted beyond their mental health abilities to contain themselves, and we know McDavid has been trying his best to drag this team along with Draisaitl across the finish line. So if anything, I'll be happy for the fan base and for those guys and Wallman. But other than that, that's about as far as I will commend them.
Mm. Yeah.
Any other closing thoughts on this finals? I believe their next game is on Tuesday or Monday. I'm going to confirm right here. It is Tuesday. Game 6 is on Tuesday. And then if the Oilers can force a game 7, it'll all come to a close on Friday. Hurrah!
Yay.
It's over, guys.
Nah, no closing thoughts really. Just I have more of a quieter week, so we'll see if I catch any of these games. Should a game 7 occur, but don't hold your breath.
Something of more interest for me. I don't know if you're going to have any thoughts on this. Look, the Rangers have put Kreider's name out there for months, right around when they were before or after they had traded Truba.
Mm,
We know they're in a situation where they will do just about anything to make sure that their team gets to the next level of success. And we've talked in previous episodes about how this season did not go as planned as all. Like I would not from a team that got all the way to the conference finals last season to find themselves outside the playoff window. We know just, if you're not following this team terribly closely, if you get that far and then you don't make it into the playoffs at all the season for that, like that's not looking great for everybody involved. And then so going back to, like I said, when they traded Truba and they literally threw Kreider's name out there, so you were just kind of expecting it all season, like who's going to take him. Granted, he ended up going on IR or whatever for a number of months. So I think that kind of took him out of like the trading picture for the meantime. But it's off season. It was I believe he was dealing with a back injury. But anyways, so news was circulating earlier in the week about the Rangers looking into trading him to the Ducks. And look, I already said he was already on the trading block. But why does it have to be the Ducks? that's the part that is hurting me more than anything else, because we know these guys, they can't, like, he was drafted by the Rangers. The dude's 34. He's kind of in this realm where, if he's slowing down, he's inconsistent, injury prone. I get why they're moving him. It sucks
mm,
for diehard Rangers fans because he's was drafted by the team. He's basically, in a way, like how we felt about Pavelski and other
mm,
players that were drafted by the Sharks and spent a long time of their career with the organization. But in situations like this, I'm like, okay, I get it. You have to move him. and I want to continue to rooting for them, but I can't do it with Ducks. I just can't. And it's blinding to see the mock up of him in orange. It's blinding to me.
That orange is not very complimentary to anyone's skin tone. Like, it's like by itself fine. I can see the. I still don't quite understand why the Ducks changed to an orange, but it's their team color. It's not my favorite. I think it would be really cool though to see those orange uniforms up against the Sharks all teal uniforms on the ice. That would be fun. But other than that, it's a little too bold for me.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen, it's kind of nice for was Kreider. Kreider, is that how you say his name? Kreider. He's gonna be reunited with Truba in Anaheim, right? It's interesting how this trade played out. Apparently, the Ducks are getting back the fourth round pick that went to New York in the Truba trade. So it feels like they gave up less to get him, or they gave up more to get. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Either way, it kind of cancels out, right? Because the Ducks got no. I'm getting better at it. So they gave up a fourth round pick to get Truba, and now to get Kreider, they're getting that same pick back. I don't understand how these trades work. And
I'm wondering if it's a cap situation for them. I'm just taking a glance here. I mean, they have quite a number of RFAs, and I think right off the bat for me, having followed this team on the side, I think one of their priorities is going to be to sign Will Cooley. He was a standout for me this season, both for fantasy. I was hesitant to pick him up. I'm like, he's gonna play like third, fourth line minutes. Like, who is this guy anyway? And at some points, I think he even saw some time on the first power play, which like last season, the season before last, he that power play was deadly. And then this past season, it was like everybody on the power play from Panarin to shoot, what is his name? The guy that they picked from Hurricanes. Oh, look, I have the roster in front of me. But it's Trocheck. So and then you have Fox. So it was like, and then unfortunately Mika had a down year, but he was right there for like the one timers. It was a very effective power play, only for it to be less so. So this guy who, I don't follow their prospect pool terribly closely. Like, he was effective in all areas of the game. I'm kind of jealous that he's not on our team, because if they fumble this, I will be like, Greer, please get this guy, because he is physical. He's a grinder. He can get in there and score for you. The times when their roster was mostly healthy, like, he made the most of his minutes. So I feel like if anything, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's a cap situation for the move. I just think he's an older player that they're like, look, you're slowing down. He used to be on power play one, and then they mostly took him off of it. He used to be the guy right in front of, like, he was like the Joe Pavelski in a way. Like, he could tip, he could get
Mm-hmm.
the rebounds and get, everything. So I don't know exactly. Could it be a combination of those things? And there's been talks about, mostly I've been hearing it from the fan perspective, not so much from management in terms of what they're going to do with Keandre Miller. That's
Mm-hmm.
another guy where I was just like, if they fumble and he becomes available, Greer, please, Greer, please. Like, I know he hasn't had the greatest time in the Rangers organization. They have big expectations for him, and I think he hasn't gotten to that level that they're particularly happy about. But he is a defenseman. We know that they take a couple more years than some forwards to get to where they are going to be the to the to the peak of their game. So he's only 25, going to be an RFA. I don't know if they're having situations with the money prospect right now. But, anyways, it'll be really interesting to see what happens. And I just wanted to make mention, of course, yes, he gets to be reunited with Jacob Trouba, which I'm assuming he likes. Like, I think Trouba, from what we've seen, he's a likable guy off the ice. On the ice, we have opinions about his style of play, but I truly feel like he is a good guy. Off the ice. So if anything, you have a buddy that you can deal, with. I mean, the Ducks are a couple more years ahead than us in their rebuild. So I'd imagine they're trying to look at sniffing at the playoffs next season, or, that's their focus. So he'll help the veteran presence that we know that they're trying to make sure they've got around in their youth. But with that said, with the movement over to Anaheim, he leaves his BFF,
Yeah.
Mika Zibanejad, which from what I hear from the Rangers fan base, they want him gone, which breaks my heart, because I'm just like, you don't know what you're talking about. They probably do, but you don't know what you're talking about. So when Mika came over from the Senators, I think they hit it right off the bat. They've spent like a decade playing together. So Mika went on his Instagram and he said, "I'm incredibly lucky to have had the pleasure of playing with you for almost 10 years, but that's nothing compared to the pleasure of getting to know you and becoming best friends. You took me in from day one. You've taught me everything and what it means to be a Ranger. You've always had my back no matter what. From being kids to having kids of our own. It's a journey that doesn't end here. This is a friendship for a lifetime. Teammates or not, me and my family will always be grateful for you and your family. Lastly, I just want to wish you all the best in Anaheim. They're lucky to have such an amazing player, person, and teammate." And along with that statement, he posted a picture of, I know I've mentioned it many episodes ago. There was a moment, like Mika's one of those players, kind of like Celebrini. He thinks about everything he's done on the ice, and he's just like, dang it, like I need to look at what I did wrong there. And I think he was getting a little too obsessive that game. He went to reach for the iPad. I need to know what I did wrong there. And Kreider sitting right next to him, and he grabbed the iPad and threw it on the ground.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was the video that accompanied this post, to basically, it's the end of an era for them.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen with Mika from here, but definitely a change. Definitely going to be a change.
Yeah. I was I was wondering how you were feeling about it when I saw this news break. Because I know he's one of your favorites. But I think I hate how I don't know the word. Smart maybe some of these GMs are being about acquiring these players, especially for our rivals. With the Ducks, I don't want them to get better. I mean, obviously it'll be good for the rivalry, whatever. And the Sharks are on their way. But I'm like, let them keep sucking. It gives the Sharks a better opportunity to make the playoffs sooner. As well as there were rumors going around about Marner. Still, obviously, he's probably the biggest name that's going to be on the ¿cómo se llama? The free agent market, where it doesn't look like the Sharks are actually pursuing him, which I understand. We talked about Greer not really wanting to hand out those long-term contracts. But guess what team is on that list? The team that is always on the list of acquiring these top elite players when they become available. Fucking Vegas. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there, because I also heard that, who was it, Petrangelo or someone, one of their other top guys, might need to go on the IR, the LTIR, because he's gonna have to deal with some surgery or whatever. So that's gonna make room for this big contract that will sign Marner or whatever. So don't be surprised. I don't know, man. It's gonna be really frustrating if and when that news breaks, because we don't look. I don't like that team, but I don't know. I'm hoping that the Sharks can get somewhat of a big name. I don't know who Greer would go for that doesn't want to sign a long-term contract these days. You know.
Well, we may have something in that realm to talk about in a little bit, but I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about our sponsor. You should know by now is DraftKings. The fastest game on ice just hit another gear. Welcome to the Stanley Cup Final, where legends are made and every shift could turn the tide. And now, with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can take every slapshot, breakaway, and overtime filler to the next level. New to betting on the Stanley Cup Finals? You're in for an exciting time. Getting started is a breeze. Fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, pick your team to win, lock in your wager, and you're off to the races. It's fast, simple, and puts you right in the middle of the action. Here's the kicker. New customers who bet just $5 will score $300 in bonus bets if your wagers hit. That's right. Turn $5 into a Stanley Cup Final payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code THPN. That's code THPN to unlock $300 in bonus bets when your $5 bet wins. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Minimum minus 500 odds required. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Copyright 2025 NHL. So we talked just a little bit ago about the next game is going to be on Tuesday, June 17th. The Oilers and the Panthers head into Game 7. So if you're looking to bet on that game, let me get to it.
Do 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 do.
I know, the suspense. You really want to know how. Here we go. They changed it. Now it says Stanley Cup. Well, that's easy. Okay, the Oilers, the money line is a plus 124 to the Panthers minus 148. So I don't know. It's getting crazier out there. The Oilers are still trying to claw their way back in, and I don't necessarily think you can count them out, just judging from how these back and forth games have been coming about. And there's a lot of players who have experience in playing in these high stakes games. So if you're interested in cashing in on some moolah, placing your luck into that whole mix, go check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use our code THPN. All right, back to some other hockey stuff. So I saw this sort of circulating during this week as well. There's been some discussion about Jason Robertson, which I'm not entirely surprised at initially I was like, that's interesting. And there was talks about I believe that they're having some cap issues. I mean, they signed Rantanen to what? It was
8 years.
14 million? Yeah.
Oh,
so I mean, I'm not saying that was a bad choice on their part, but they only have so much money to play with, and unlike us who are at the bottom of the cap space because we have like 40 million, we have tons to play around with. But the Dallas Stars still trying to stay in the mix here. They've got some contracts that they're going to have to consider how they're going to make it work. And I mean, Jamie Benn's been talked about. I mean, he's been with the Stars since I believe they drafted him, so he's been with this team the entire time. But similar to how we talked about with Kreider, he's 35. I mean, yeah, they played him on the second power play. He's very effective in terms of like his physical game, and then then he also has the ability to score. He may not be on the top two lines, the guys that they're looking to, keep them in these playoff games as much as he used to, but he's a still effective guy, but he's going to need a contract. And then you have Matt Duchene, Yevgeny Dadonov, Mikhail Granlund, who I want to circle back to this talk about Jason Robertson. I was hearing that they're interested in signing Granlund, which having had him for the better half of last season, I can see how that makes sense. But going off of just that alone, before I talk about the Dallas Stars coming in and what they have to say, it's interesting though if you just take that information and isolate it, and if they're seriously considering keeping Granlund and how much it would cost to sign him, possibly long term with the Stars, and having Jason Robertson's name out there as like the the reason why they would need to move somebody to make room for a Granlund trade. Like, so that alone, I'm like, that's interesting, because no offense to Granlund, but Robertson is the much younger guy who has proven himself for a number of seasons now. I mean, we know from talking about their series that, well, okay, we can't hold it against Robertson for being out for like the first round, like like poor timing, unfortunately. But when he came in, I don't recall what his injury was, but you got to give him some slack there. He needed some time to reacclimate, especially for a playoff style game. But perhaps folks feel, or maybe they saw it in just this context of maybe Granlund looked like the more effective player. All of this is just what I've been seeing along the way from Jess Robertson's name out there. But the Dallas Stars came in the other day to shut down the conversation about people talking about Robertson moving. So this article from Dallas News says, despite rumors that the Stars are listening to trade offers for their lead goal scorer, Jason Robertson, it is not a priority for the Dallas Stars. The reports are, quote, completely overblown. A person familiar with the Stars told the Dallas Morning News, and the team would need to be blown away by an offer to consider trading Robertson, which makes more sense than some
Yeah.
of the stuff I was hearing.
Yeah, can you imagine? What do you think the Sharks would have to give up to get Robertson?
I'd imagine they want some like NHL ready guys. And I don't know, like the guys that come to mind are like a Toffoli and a Alexander Wenberg, but then we go back to like the salary cap situation that the Stars may be running into with a number of their pending UFAs. I think if anything from the guys that I like mentioned, I imagine they're probably looking at Granlund and the other guys before Ben, Duchene, Dadonov. Like, they're all kind of in the same situation. Like, age-wise, they're a couple of years older than Granlund, and I don't know how many of them are going to be wanting to take discounts. And from this, I believe that so this incorporates the cap going up, and right now they would only have a little less than like 5 million. So you've got like these four effective players in various parts of their game. I mean, there's also like Colin Blackwell, who, if you go back to the series against the Avalanche, he was the guy that forced who got the win for the Stars in overtime. I don't know a whole lot about him, but you have a number of these guys that have been pretty effective with the team. So I don't know how we would make it work to help them. Maybe if they want to move somebody who they've signed a bad contract with, which I can't see at this time, we have that available slot now, a retention slot with, I think it like Burns. I think he comes off the books, and I think that'll be effective for maybe helping out these teams, even though this cap is going up. So is everybody's salary. So I know that that's going to be effective for us to be able to give teams this option to dump a contract that they're like having buyer's remorse with. But
Right.
honestly, I outside of Toffoli and Wenberg, I don't. I mean, we've like when we traded off Wallman and Granlund and Cece, we've shipped off a number of guys already who I think would be teams that are looking to contend and stay in the mix would be interested in. So right now I can't really think of anybody outside of the names that I already put out there that like I don't know how interested the Stars would be for picks. They're not really in that mix right now where they're like looking to the draft. We know that they are in a situation. I mean, they fired Pete DeBoer, so they're just like we're here to win it. We're not looking to scrape it and rebuild. I mean, especially since they have Ottinger.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not in a situation where they're going to be wanting to um, hang tight for a couple years, rebuild their core, or whatever. So I don't know if we could be in the mix for Robertson, but like I've said in the past with the acquisition of Askarov, like I was in the same feelings of like, yeah, we're not. It's a pipe dream. We're not gonna be someone they're interested in. But hey,
We'll be very
it's not our
excited if it
job,
happens. Yeah,
right?
I think if the Stars can't make it work with Granlund, I wouldn't mind getting him back because he played really well for us, and he was so good with the young guys. Give him
Mm-hmm.
back. You can't afford him. Send him back.
Yeah. So I don't know, but either way, they Robertson is going to need a. Let me go back to Puckpedia. Actually, oh, here it is. Okay, entering the final year of his 4-year contract, it's hard to imagine the Stars will find the production Robertson has managed to bring in his career for a cheaper price. Robertson has a 7.75 million cap hit this season and is arbitration eligible, restricted free agent next offseason. That means the Stars still have control by making a qualifying offer. The parties would have 2 years to figure out a long-term extension before Robertson would become an unrestricted free agent. So my feelings on that is we could possibly be in the mix of revisiting this contract if things don't go like right now they're in a situation where they don't have to do anything, and as I mentioned earlier in this article, like they have to be wowed by an offer, and I don't think, at least for the Sharks, we have anything that will wow them. Like they need someone now. We've already kind of given up most of the people now outside of those two players that I mentioned. And I don't really know how they certainly fit into that mix. Like they could, but I don't know if they're interested in those types of guys. But the Dallas Stars will have to revisit this conversation in the next season, and the horizon could be different then, and the Sharks could be in a different situation then, depending on how we fill our roster. I don't recall how far away we are from the cap floor. We know we have to sign some guys. We know we have some guys that are pending UFAs, RFAs who will need contracts, but that's not going to be enough to get us to the cap floor. So we know we have to acquire some guys, if anything, for the veteran presence as well. So depending on how things go, we could find ourselves in a situation where we could humor an acquisition of a Jason Robertson if things fall into place. So it'll be interesting to come back to it if that happens in a future season.
Yeah. How fun would that be to see Robertson in the Sharks jersey?
I will
The
be the
Filipino
first
pride.
person.
You'd be the first person to buy that jersey.
I will be the first person to buy a jersey.
As you should.
Okay, moving on. Atlanta has entered the chat again. It was booted out of the chat many years ago, and it is saying, hey, we still exist. We're interested in a hockey team. Give us back a hockey team. All that stuff. So the, how do you say this county's name? Forsyth County
Sure.
votes Forsyth County votes to approve the final documentation that would allow the Krause Group to formally propose NHL expansion into Metro Atlanta. The group is now expected to present its complete proposal to the NHL in coming weeks. The vote, which passed this evening, was widely seen as the final hurdle. Expansion is likely imminent. So, yeah.
I think that's exciting for the sport. I don't feel like there's enough there's hockey teams in the South like spread out. Obviously, Texas, the biggest state in this in the country, only has one team. And then from there, who's the next one? Florida, Tampa Bay, and then going west, I think it's well, no, because Arizona doesn't have one anymore. So yeah, it'd probably be
Womp
Vegas.
womp.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, like, it's more coverage. I kind of wish that they would give Houston a team, you know? Like, give Texas another one. Houston's a little bit more of a progressive city. It's another diverse city. It'd be cool to get more, I don't know, Latinos in, interested in hockey. That'd be fun. Maybe sometime in the future after Atlanta comes in. I don't know too much about the city, but, like, what do you think their name would be? They obviously can't be the Thrashers. That'd be silly. Why would they bring that back?
I haven't the slightest clue, but it'll be interesting to see. I don't know how long this timeline is, but hopefully fans that were back in the day Atlanta Thrashers fans, I hope this is the dreams are coming true for them to finally get a team back in the area. I don't know if they've had to default to choosing a Florida team or whatever the case may be, but this is an exciting time, and I hope that they can have the opportunity to use something in the local community to help influence the name of this. We're always interested in having those kind of tie-ins with the community. I've visited Atlanta once. So I have zero clue, but it'll be exciting for whenever this happens. If when.
Yeah, but then it also throws off the number of teams. It'll be 33. So the divisions will be odd. They gotta throw in another team in there.
All I can think of is it won't be our problem because they won't be in our division. So for
Yeah.
for fans out in the East, what division is? Where is the standings here? Oh. Anyways, whatever division the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning are in, I guess I would imagine that they would enter that division. So good luck to them or something, because that doesn't
Are they
sound
not?
exciting.
I feel like they're in separate divisions. It's like split off really weird.
Well, that makes it even worse then.
This league doesn't always make sense. Oh no, they're in the same. They're in the Atlantic.
Yeah.
I just like to
So
make things up.
I mean, look, the same. So you're talking about like demographic or geography. Yeah, the Leafs are in the same conference as the Lightning and the Panthers, which couldn't be any further away from each other. I think they tried their best to figure it out, but oh wait, shoot, no, I was correct, but I was looking at the wild card option. Anyways, yeah, I mean, either way, if they decide to put them in the Metropolitan, I mean, the Capitals are trying to still stay in the game. The Hurricanes, I mean, their prospect pool, from what I can see, has been good for them. So there doesn't look like any sign of them slowing down. The Devils, we know that they're trying their best to make a name for themselves in the playoffs. Um, I don't know what the heck's going on with the Blue Jackets. They're like 1 minute they look like they're in the mix, and the next they're like, eh.
Just kidding. We just want to see how you were feeling about it.
I mean, the Islanders are looking to make a quick turnaround with getting the first overall pick this season. So either division that they end up in, depending on how long this journey for them getting a team, it took a little bit for even Seattle from when it was announced and when they got their team. So this this landscape could change.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they were a team that was coming over to the West, I mean, it's pretty competitive out here as well. And it's interesting to hear from East Coast fans of East Coast teams talking about how competitive it is out in the West. I think I heard a comment most recently from like Steve Dangle on his STPN podcast. They were talking about the style of play that the Western Conference has and how that can really trip up East Coast teams. So it's interesting to hear from perspective of outside teams, because I always feel like the West is always seen as like the inferior conference, and they're
Mm-hmm.
always talking about like how much of a grind it is in like the Atlantic or the Metropolitan or whatever. And then in past seasons with the Ducks and Sharks not doing too well, and like the Kings have been kind of doing their like hybrid rebuild, like I guess it kind of makes sense to me that people didn't see the Pacific as like that much of a threat. But hey, we're getting back in there.
Slowly
Just
but surely.
couple more seasons. Yeah.
Give us 3 years. You'll see the Sharks up there. Trying to
I'm
manifest
hoping.
this.
I'm hoping. You know what? It's been kind of radio silence for a little bit with the Sharks in terms of any moves, and I get it. There's not. I think most people are waiting for like the draft and then free agency to open up. So in terms of signings and everything, it's been a little bit of a like I said, radio silence. So, but I think it's going to get exciting here in once this is all said and done with the finals, and then when the draft kicks off, and then free agency in July. But hey, like last season, people didn't really think that the Sharks were going to be as exciting, and they wrote us off. And while we're still at the bottom of the league, people are starting to say some really good things about the Sharks and the
Yeah.
direction of the game. So, all right. In other news, you want to talk a little bit about the Players Tribune article?
Yes. So the play is that how you say it? Tribune, Tribune. I don't know. I don't know English. So they posted this. What was this? The 12th, 3 days ago from the time of this recording. They quoted, "You were perfect. I don't know how you could have ever been better." Meredith Gaudreau honors her husband. She wrote an article about Johnny Gaudreau, and they decided to clip together a video, basically like home videos, family together, how Gaudreau was with his kids. Oh my god, just watching it, it's like a 2 minute video. No, almost 4 minute video. I watched it, I was tearing up, and I was like, damn. And then I saw that there was an article attached to it, and I decided to read it. And it's so beautifully written in the perspective of Meredith. She talks about their love story, how they met, how they got things going, the long distance that they did because they met in, I want to say Pennsylvania, but she would commute all the way to Calgary to see him for a few days and then fly back because she worked as a nurse out in Pennsylvania. And, they decided to move in together at some point, and she moved to Calgary. They got married. And shortly afterwards is when his contract was up, and that's when he decided to move to Columbus, when he decided to take that offer. And, the Calgary fans were in a riot because they lost their best player. But it kind of explains the process of how he came to that decision, how it was really hard for him. But in actuality, like the news came out that they wanted to do it specifically for family reasons. And it was, she explained that it was a lot closer to both of their families. So it was only a few hours away as opposed to across the continent. And, she then talks about the tragic day and how she handled it, and how, she had just told him a week before that she was pregnant with their third child. And oh my God, the tears, you guys. This is so sad. But if you have the time, I would suggest reading it. It is a beautiful story, a tragic, but like it is really well written. In my perspective, I couldn't like. I had to stop a few times to take a breath, and also like things were happening around in my life. But like, whoo by the time I got to the end, I swear to God, I was like, who's cutting onions in here? It's so sad. Oh man, it really makes you feel for her. But at least, like, she also mentions how well the hockey community was taking care of her and her sister-in-law when they really needed it and stuff. So, yeah, it's a good read. I highly recommend it if you're strong enough to go through it.
Yeah, it's still surreal
Yeah.
to think that this occurred, and I can only begin to imagine how it is for their family, especially for a number of things that you talked about. Just their connection to each other. And if you've ever been in a situation, whether it's like romantically, whether it's like family related, where you're away from family, and the toll it takes to have that distance, and the financial and the physical toll it takes to just have, even just like a weekend with that person who's just, has your heart more than you can begin to describe, and then have that all kind of taken away from you one day. Like I have nothing close to that situation. So, the most that I can do is just think about one of the most tragic moments in my life and then think like, yeah, it's probably worse than that, just and yeah, like, and the fact that they have this kid now who is only gonna know their father from memories that other people have, the stories that other people are gonna tell them about their father. So, oof, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. I get it. I'll probably take a moment to read through that, but it's been
take your
it's
time.
been a it's been a heavy week for other things that are taking an emotional toll. So
Yeah, take your time with it. I sure did. Like it took me all day to get through it because like other things are happening and it was like really emotional and I was like, "Ooh, I'm not trying to bawl right now." But after I finished reading it, I was like, "This is so good." And I made my girlfriend, who is not a hockey person at all, I made her read it. And at the end of it, she was like, "That is so sad," and she's crying. But yeah, like it's like things you can relate to a certain extent. But yeah, you mentioned just having to do the long distance thing, someone you really care about, it's really hard. Whether it is a romantic partner or family, you do get homesick. It it does take an emotional toll. So it was really interesting reading that from her perspective and how they handled it and how happy the two of them were together. Like you really feel for her. Like the kids too, but not as much because they're really young, so it's not they're not going to feel the impact as much as she did because like she spent time with him.
yeah, she's gonna feel not only for herself, but also for the fact that her children won't be able to experience that. So she's
Yeah.
carrying a lot of the heaviness for just everybody that is not gonna be able to have this privilege of knowing Johnny Gaudreau like she's known him, and from a fan perspective, we're really not gonna know as well. I mean, I'm not necessarily a Calgary Flames fan, but he was my favorite out of that team for the fact that he is a a shorter statured player
Mhm.
who had so much success with the
Mhm.
Flames, and then when he got traded off to Columbus, again, I'm not particularly a Columbus Blue Jacket fan, but I'm just like, I want this guy to succeed because we hear time and time again the broken record about like the big players and the physicality of the game, and these smaller statured guys always get
Mm.
the short end of the stick. And so, but I think an article written with just so much heart from his wife's perspective kind of gives you that inside look, that I guess we don't really get to see from the fan perspective. So it's definitely a situation that continues to touch hearts time and time again. And yeah, I don't know. I guess to close out my thoughts on this, I just continue to wish that family well because I can't even begin to imagine every day that they go
Yeah,
through.
the heartbreak. On the I just want to touch on what you said about being a smaller player. I do want to read a paragraph that she wrote because she mentioned that as well. She says, "Eventually, I learned all about hockey and how you were a good player. Sorry, John, but my first thought was, really? You're not much bigger than me. But when I learned about your work ethic, about your passion for the game, it all sort of made sense to me. One of the first nights after we hung out, I went to YouTube. I typed in Johnny Gaudreau hockey, and there you were. There were all these people in red in Calgary, and you were their guy. I couldn't believe it. It's really like she also talked she met him in a time where he was already really a really well-known hockey player but she didn't follow the sport
She's
at
like, who
all.
this?
What do you mean you play hockey? Who are you? Just come to find out how big he was in the hockey world. But yeah, I highly recommend reading this. It's so good. That's all.
All right. And I wanted to bring attention to, I mean, we know we talked about this last week and it's still very much in the news. This came across on my feed, and, we don't like to talk, any good stuff about our rivals down in LA in any sport. But we do have to give praise to the Angel City FC. They have a shirt right now on their website. It's the Immigrant City Football Club Los Angeles is for everyone shirt. And proceeds for this shirt go to the Camino Immigration Services. I want to pull up what they're all about. The Camino Immigration Services, we seek to serve the immigrant community by providing quality legal counsel on immigration matters and connecting immigrant families to available resources. We provide a number of services, including green card applications, citizenship, DACA renewals, fiancé petitions, adjustment of status, employment authorization, and more. We understand that our current immigration system is complicated and broken, leaving millions without a viable path to legal status. While we are committed to providing direct legal services, we are also committed to continually and advocating for better immigration policies, ensuring the immigrant community is informed on their rights and that vulnerable immigrants have the community support needed in order to be safe. The Camino Immigration Services, we are grounded in the truth that all people have inherent dignity and should be equitable and should have equitable opportunities to thrive. I'm going to share what the shirt says. So on the front of the shirt, it says Immigrant City Football Club. If you're watching us here on YouTube, I'm just going to share my screen here. So it's a black shirt that says Immigrant City Football Club. And then on the back, it has several lines of text. The first one says, Los Angeles is for everyone. And then the following sentence says, Los Angeles es para todos. And then it repeats itself for several lines after that. And basically, it's just saying, like I said, Los Angeles for everyone, and then in Spanish, it says the exact same thing. So if you're unable to go out to show your support for the immigrant community and to get ICE out of your neighborhoods and all the other stuff that's going on in this country right now, this is also a great opportunity to get a shirt that just shows your solidarity. Wear it around. The net proceeds go to the Camino Immigration Services. And if you're unable to do that, hop on to Angel City's website and just get this out on your social medias. So perhaps others who are looking for ways to give back to these communities and these services that are helping our immigrant communities out. And there's more than one way to show your support and to protest.
Yeah, when I first saw these shirts, I felt a little bit of mixed feelings because I was like, you're making a shirt and you're just profiting off of what's happening. But I didn't realize, first of all, I think their game, was yesterday, and they handed these out at the game. And then they made them available online for people who wanted them, and they are going to be donating some of the proceeds to Camino Immigration Services, which is nice. Regarding everything going on with ICE, LA has been experiencing protests for at least a week now. We have been seeing some protests here in SF. I don't know how many have been going on in San Jose aside from yesterday. Obviously, it was the nationwide No Kings Day protest. Everyone, even my little town, had a protest, which was really nice. I was able to attend and represent or whatever. It was nice to see a decent amount of people out here that are pretty fed up with what's happening. There are other resources to kind of keep track of any ice sightings or to report for yourself. There is an app called Padlet. I don't have the link by memory, but if you probably could Google it or something. There is a specific link that shows you a map. You can look in your area, kind of figure out. Some of them are warnings of possible events that are going to happen in the future. Some people post their sightings, and it'll be like confirmed or not through the app. So I don't know if there's any other apps like that. This is the one that I know about. I've probably heard of other ones, but this is the one that I used yesterday. It's just to be aware. I think people should be. I don't know. They should be giving it a chance to kind of get their things together before something awful happens and they get ripped away from their family. So, just like I said previously, you just have to be aware of your surroundings, everything that's happening, and take care of your community members.
Yeah. To follow up on the Angel City shirt that they're putting out there, yeah, definitely one of the important things, especially with anything like, the NHL, like with every, theme night, one of the first things I always look at is where is this money going? And I understand that even with a sport that has money, I understand that there's certain part of that money that needs to go to the actual production of the shirt. And on one hand, they could just eat that money, but like with the NHL and like a bigger major league sport for men, like I kind of feel a little like you should probably eat that money, but okay, I'm not going to fight it so much as long as you're working with the community beyond the shirt that you're putting. You're like, hey, we're with you, and some of the money is going to your organization, but outside of the shirt, we don't do a whole lot else. Like I think there's layers to these types of ways that you spread the message and engage with these marginalized communities. So I think with Angel City, the fact that their net proceeds go to this immigration services, I think is, and then on top of what you said about how they were handing them out as well to everybody who was attending that game. So I felt like this was a good merchandise to put out there for everybody to consider whether you want to purchase one or share it around and whatsoever. And then to address what you're saying about what was happening in San Jose, so we did also participate in the No Kings protest on Saturday. And then earlier in the week, I went to a protest outside of City Hall. The first part of how that came about is because with everything going down to LA, I pretty much was having a very difficult time going to work as usual on a Monday and sitting in my cube and just feeling like this is pointless. This right here does not matter right now. And then for like my mental health was getting a little shaky just because it felt like everyone else was just going about their day as if nothing was happening. And I think it gets complicated when you're in spaces like work or things similar to that, where I feel like people almost don't talk about it because they're probably concerned that they don't want to uh, they don't want to cause other people's mental health to, we all have different ways in which we handle stuff going on right now. And if just because you're not talking about it doesn't mean you're not concerned. But I very
Mm-hmm.
much felt in that moment that I was just like, I need to be around people who are not just going about their day. And so I ended up taking some time off of work. I asked my manager if I could take some personal time today because I was looking around for, is there something happening to address what's going on in LA today? Like, I need to be around folks who want to be vocal about it. And coincidentally, San Jose was finalizing their budget earlier this week. And so there was a protest already scheduled for Monday to address that. And then they also took a moment to address what was happening in LA and how that kind of coincides with what they want also to prevent in San Jose. They wanted San Jose to address giving more money for immigration services and things like that as part of their budget. But largely, that protest was already scheduled because they wanted to protest a number of things related to the budget on the following day. So I ended up going to that at City Hall. And so that was very positive for my mental health to be around other folks who wanted to be vocal. So yeah, it was very nice to see the different turnouts throughout the country, especially with the one down in here in San Jose, because when you're down on the ground, you're just like, yeah, it looks like a lot of people. And it's like someone who's short, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't see anything, so I have to assume there's a lot of people here. But the aerial coverage that I got to see after the fact, that was very cool. It was very cool to be down there, and for the for the most part, everything was fine. I didn't hear about anything going wrong. The cops were down there just to direct traffic. So that was nice to see that there was no situations like that, and everybody was, brought their energy. The cars who had to wait a bit for us to get out of the way, some of them were engaged with positive honking and not get out of the way honking. So,
Yeah.
um, and then
Yeah, we experienced a lot of that too, the honking. It was nice. Like I said, so I live in the suburbs, and as I've grown older, I've noticed that a lot of people out here, there's more conservatives out here than I would have anticipated. And so I was pleasantly surprised to see the turnout that I did here. It was probably like a couple hundred people. It wasn't a lot, but it was more than I had thought was going to show up. And then while we were out there, it's like probably every other car was honking in support. So it was really nice to see.
what I really enjoyed seeing were like families who came out. There was this family that was standing in front of me for a little bit. It was the parents, and then it was like their three kids, and their kids were holding up, American flags or, whatever. There was elderly people who were chilling at the park to show support. They were just hanging out with their family. Um,
Hmm.
there was a person next to me at some point who had um, a megaphone, and this elderly man came over and told her like, "Hey, you should do this chant." And so they did it for a little bit, and then he was telling, he was like thanking her because he's like, "You'd be more effective than me trying to rouse up the uh, everybody around us." So it was really nice to see every every person you can think of from every walk of life out there. And I really liked that aerial picture of over in Ocean
SF?
Beach, San Francisco. Yeah, it was people who lined themselves up to form the message of no king. Um,
Hmm.
and then yeah, just also the much bigger cities like oh my god, like New York. Just if you've ever been down in Manhattan, I mean, it's already terrible traffic, and then just to have people for blocks on blocks on blocks, just yeah, that was really cool to see. And then, of course, Mark Ruffalo was out there with Susan Sarandon. They were right there in front, holding up the banners, and Mark Ruffalo has been pretty outspoken about yeah
All the
most things.
things.
Yeah, so yeah, it was just really cool to see all that, and mostly try to avoid whatever was going on in DC that day. Like, we won't talk about that. So, yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a week. But next week, the Oilers and the Panthers are going to close it out somehow, some way. One of these teams is going to come out on top. So, if you're invested in it, good luck to you. We here on Over Glass are like, hurry it up. Get it over with.
Just close it out already. I don't
I know.
care.
We're waiting for the draft. This
Give
is
me the
not
draft.
important to us. We want to know who we're getting. And yeah, so that's all we have for you today. As always, I'm your host, Jay.
I'm Jazz. Thanks for joining us, guys. Oh, and
Goodbye.
happy Father's Day to people who celebrate.
Yes.
That's all.
Okay, goodbye.